I would like people to remember me as someone who was passionately curious and translated that quality into telling stories, she says. When Neelamji takes up a text, she does not start with reading as is usually done. Together with her actors, they do some fun stuff that could challenge their imagination and then move into areas that cannot easily be imagined. And then expand on a well-made story with a beginning, middle, end, and one's own journey into the scary space beyond. This is what makes Neelam Man Singh Chowdhry one of the most enchanting, most captivating directors of our times, not only in the country but also internationally. Do have a listen. Welcome guys. I'm so excited today. Welcome to the podcast Theatre of Joy. You can see my excitement, right? Today we have Dr. Neelam Mansingh, Padam Shri, awarded by the National Sangeet Natak Academy, and so many things that I'm going to get out of breath. She's a theatre director, she writes, and she's a teacher, and I think that she's a philosopher, and she is very erudite, very articulate, and theatre, the field of theatre, is so lucky to have her. And we are so lucky to have her in Chandigarh. And I'm so lucky today to have you on my podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for this
so
very warm
much for coming.
introduction.
I'm honored that you came today to my home and to my podcast. God bless you.
Thank you.
And hope you have many more years to live and work. And I'm very excited to see where your work will take you and us with it. Because I heard you say somewhere that your work now is different than it was, say, more than a decade ago. And is that true?
Well, in the sense that there's a process of change that is continuous in your work. I started off with a well-made play like All of Us Did, which has a beginning, middle, and end. But even when I was working with a well-made play, I had a tendency to shift things around. It's like Godard says that everything has a beginning, middle, and end, but not always in that order.
Yes.
So I was always reconstituting the text which I was working with, whether it was Yerma, whether it was Nagamandala, whether it was Fedra, whether, classical texts that I worked with for many years, that at some stage, I felt bored with it. I felt bored with the structure. I think it's a process of growth. It's a process of wanting to challenge yourself in different ways. So I started thinking of an idea and how that idea develops into a particular formation. I was very fortunate that I had a very strong association with Surjit Pathar. I remember I told him that I want to do a play on food. We've always explored the visual, the hearing, the different kinds of senses, but we've never explored the olfactory on stage.
I saw that.
So I said I want something to do with food and cooking and a langar tradition and community and sharing of stories. He says, then you have to give me a karchi rather than a pen. I need an idea. So then I came across this book called Water for Chocolate, like Water for Chocolates by a Latin American writer. So that gave us a basic narrative, a storyline. But it was localized, it was vernaculized, it was regionalized, it was set in one's own space. So I found that a very interesting, innovative dimension in terms of moving in different directions of working. And then we did a play called Sibbo in Supermarket, which is about consumerism, which is about memory. So I kept on exploring an idea and seeing how the idea can develop into a dramatic narrative form. And rather than large characters, epic characters, I was more interested in the everyday, the mundane, Uh, so I think there was a gradual shift, which wasn't self-conscious, it wasn't calculated, it was just part of the different milestones in my life.
And I remember the video plays because I got to see those. And what my takeaway was that, the characters in your plays were unashamed about their emotions. And probably where I came from, middle class, home and wherever, uh, emotions were not, especially women, were not allowed to have those emotions. Like the Mad Lady of Chaillot. So, and the other, even Kitchen Katha. Uh, and the women actually, they sort of played themselves fully. And that was beautiful to watch. And I remember coming out after watching your plays, and the men, because they cannot digest all of when a woman is being all of herself. And so they were snide comments sometimes. And the women who were kind of entrained by their men also had, and I was quiet. I think I brought a little bit of that into my life. And thank you so much because, it did affect my journey, my relationships. I processed it in my own way. But that's what theatre is for.
Well, it was never deliberate. The interpretation of making women true to their own emotional, bodily, physical desire was not something that was an act. It was just the way I looked at the materiality of not only the objects that my plays were surrounded by, but also the emotional impulses of the women. So I don't know, how it is received, but that's the way I worked. If I do a play like Yerma or even Nagamandala, which is all about desire and yearning, I can't have them wear a burqa or be timid. They have to be women who are alert to their bodies, who are alert to the desires that lurk within the crevices of their body. So it was just the kind of person I was, which reflected in my work.
Yes, and that's the person who be. I mean, throughout your career as a theatre director, person who makes theatre, you've been true to yourself. And I'm really speaking from the window of a middle class woman who, will not take her work seriously because her family won't, will not go out and get everything that is required for that work to be just the way she wants it to be. And I think that also affected me a lot. And I know that you said somewhere, and that, really has brought a lot of respect to you. You're not that theatre is not activism and theatre is not journalism. And that is amazing because I know I have been playing with people who actually think that theatre is activism, whether it's feminist theatre or and after I heard that, I realized that that is why everything came out unstrained.
Well, in the sense, I have no critiquing of a director who is doing activism through theatre. I respect that. Or I respect even the fact that people are using the space of theatre for asserting a certain ideological position. That's also a kind of way of functioning. But it's not my way of functioning. I'm not hammering anyone to consider mine as the ultimate structure or the ultimate methodology, but it's my way. And I think, interestingly, I have no templates. I have no templates before me. I came to Chandigarh having worked in Bharat Bhavan with B.V. Karnad, and I remember him saying one thing to me, "Jo bhi kaam karogi, hame bhool ke karna," so that there's no imitation, there's no copying, there's no comfort zone that I was uh, privileged into. And he also said, you must do it in the language of the state. I was, we lived many years in England as children, so I was anglicized. I was a complete misfit at the National School of Drama because I spoke neither Hindi nor Punjabi. So nobody knew what to do with me. I was completely useless. But I observed. I observed El Qazi. I observed how he worked. I think my entire training came from observation rather than from practice.
And that's your strength.
And then I came to Chandigarh. I didn't have, there was no tradition of theatre. It was not that I was going to Bombay or I was going to Bengal, which has a certain history of a certain kind of realism, a certain kind of content. Here it was like a free space. I felt that I could do anything I wanted because there was nobody breathing in terms of how to train an actor, what pedagogy is, or what kind of trends are happening. So that gave me the freedom to give vent to my imagination. So I think sometimes what happens is you can't really map the reasons because whatever happens because of your the frisson between your temperament and your content and your circumstances, the chemistry that is generated by that. So I don't think there was anything planned or calculated. I didn't even think I would arrive at this point where you're talking to me about it. Because everything was something that I did because I wanted to do it, because there was an urge in me to create a play, to manifest and concretize a certain text, a certain content. So I think
that one can see.
There was no history, no memory that I was dipping into. Memory was there definitely of growing up in Amritsar. So I think you referred to Sheher Mere Di Pagal Aurat or the Mad Woman of Chaillot. It really came from being fascinated by the gullies of Amritsar. The rickshaw, the shopkeepers, the food, the cooking, so all of that, I think somewhere within the archives of your memory, it's stored up. And when it spills out, you're not even aware of it. But you trust it.
Like you say, it wasn't planned, but it was a choice to follow your instincts, your destiny.
You see, this choice and this chance. So I had a choice and I had a chance. So both that combined.
Happy happenstance, as I say.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot of struggle and hard work.
And look what Jessica, कैसे क्या क्या बन पाया इससे? All the different kinds of, plays that you created. And I was trying to look for the black box, but there's only a trailer there. But that fascinates me.
There's a link to black box also somewhere.
And but that's amazing how you can, flow into each space, like you said, chance and.
I think it was COVID time.
Yeah, I know.
And there was one actor who come from Bombay who I worked with for many years, who I really have a great equation with, Rocky Vanch Bharadwaj. So we said, let's do something. So I'm wearing a mask. He's of course not wearing a mask. So we did this play, Black Box and Trunk Tales.
That must have been wonderful.
It was wonderful because there was no idea. Black box was really what happens during COVID, when people are incarcerated. It also became a very existentialist play. It could be The Stranger, it could be André Gide or Camus or whatever.
Yeah. So, I would love to hear about your journey from. Then I saw your plays, they weren't well made with a beginning, middle, and in a way, they were beyond that. To the black box, let's say, or to Hayavadana. I hope I'm pronouncing it
fine. Well, I think black box and personally, I have no desire to work. Let me just put that right in front of you. I have no initiative. I have no motivations. Maybe I did 20 years ago, but since the last 20 years, whatever has come my way has happened because I've been offered something and I don't refuse. Um, so I got a very tiny grant from Rangashankara in Bangalore to do a play. So I said, Rocky, let's do something. And that's how I think Black Box happened. We made a little space. It was about an actor whose television is not working, who's locked up, his phone has died. But we needed a starting point. And I don't know why. I was reading Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was a time of despair, it was a time of laughter. So that was exactly the mood of the nation during COVID. So that became the opening line. And then it developed. What happens? He remembers food. He remembers his girlfriend whom he can't touch. He remembers, what does he do? An actor can only do a play. So he sets up a stage and and his audience is a little dog and a little sparrow. Then he sees the rain, but he can't go out. So, I used all the feelings that were being experienced by me, being incarcerated, and I work in collaboration. The actor is as significant in the development of the play as the director. The director brings his experiences, I bring my experiences, we chisel it, hammer it, edit it, do it over and over again, and create a moment which works theatrically and dramatically. So, so it became a solo show. Then, as you know, COVID happened for 3 years. Then there was a little break. So I thought, let's have shows of Black Box. So I put it on Facebook and I said, whoever wants to come can come to this place. And I charged a ticket for the first time in my life. I don't know why I've been doing shows free, because I'm always broke. It's such a big thing to do it at the Rock Gardens. I do get sponsors, but that sponsorship never covers the expense of doing it in the Rock Gardens. So this time I charged everyone, and people were quite shocked. I said students can pay what they like, but they have to pay something. So anyway, whatever the money came, I gave it to Rocky and I gave it to Parveen Jaggi, who was doing the lights. I didn't keep anything for myself, which is okay, which I don't feel the need for, because I'm so grateful to actors who give their time and who are committed and are with you in terms of your ideas and your images that you try to create. Then after 6 months, I got a grant from Goethe Institute, which is a little more than the first grant, but very minuscule. It's embarrassing for me to even share what it was. It came under the Artist Aid Fund. So I got a grant. Then we did Trunk Tales, which is a series of 5 stories, which dealt with the politics of water, the politics of gender, the politics of food, and the politics of rape. So there were 4 stories. And we worked. So what happens is, when you have you took a bit of poetry from somewhere, you took a thought from somewhere. Sometimes I would just go into a zone where I would say that if I was a transgender, what would be my conflict? So I slip into that, and then, Rocky would record it, because it would be like, this is what I'm feeling would be the state of mind. So we use that as text. Then he would get a poem from somewhere or get a thought from somewhere. Then I would read something about the justice of food. Then I would remember Gagan Mein Thal. Then I would remember Chanda Mama Dur Ke Roti. So all the ditties, the stories, Jo Bachpan Ki Suni Hai, as I said, the reservoir within yourself, pull it out and let it come into your workspace. So that's how we made Trunk Tales. These were the 2 plays. There were solos. We were a group of 4. There was Parveen Jaggi doing the lights. There was Kamalji doing backstage. There was myself as the director, and there was Rocky.
I happened to hear a video made by Ramaki on your birthday, 2021.
Okay.
And then as I was listening to that video and a lot of others, the vastness of you as a teacher, kept coming up. And how grateful those students are, those people whose lives we touched. And I'm sure they're more than joyful, if there is any space like that, came and worked with you because there was so much to learn and so much to take away. And then again, I heard something where you talk about how, and where Rocky himself talks about how, the actors have a very, very large role in creating the play, which is not, at least in India, is not very much there in proceeding in that kind of theatre. And the music is perfect. Everyone, it is nicely rehearsed. Looks as if it's created by people who are committed to, and to that production. And everything everything is perfect. And it's, how do you manage it?
I don't think it's perfect. There are lots of flaws that happen.
That only you can see.
Hiccups but I feel the actors are the real masters of the stage. And I have full respect for them. I don't dictate. I'm not one of those, the word director is a very male sound. It means he's sound of authority. For me,
And they are.
for me, it's like the actor is the boss. I'm just there to perhaps somewhere tell them this is working and this is not working. I believe a lot in improvisations. I believe a lot in improvisations. Like, for example, I'll say in this scene, like, for example, because you mentioned Trunk Tales, I don't know why that song kept on coming to me, Machli Jal Ki Rani. It kept on coming to me in the way old men seduce little girls. So I had the whole image of a fish in a water pond. I don't know where that image came from, but then how we developed it. So I give an idea, a very kacha idea, not a definitive idea, because I'm also exploring. And I tell them, let's see how it develops. And then we develop that. Who develops it? The actor. The actor develops it with his body, with his mind, with his memory, with his relationship with that. And sometimes they say it doesn't work for us. I said, let's throw it in the dustbin. So there is a very strong. First of all, I'm not one of those directors. If an actor says to me, like especially if I'm teaching doing a directorial workshop at the NST or somewhere with an organization, and somebody says to me, "Is this what you want, ma'am?" I'll say, I'm not needy. I don't want anything. But what can we create together? It's a journey we both take together. So I give the idea. Sometimes the idea which an actor does through improvisation is far better than what I had done. Sometimes it's not workable. Sometimes there's one moment of it that can be developed and made into something else. So it's basically a very strong equation that I have with the actors. If they're not comfortable with the costume, I respect the actor. And once a play, I never see my shows. When I did Hayavadana, everyone is saying notes after the show. I said, but I haven't seen the show because now the show belongs to you. I've done my work. I'm now nowhere in the picture. It's between you and the audience. मेरे को बीच में मत लाओ. The stage belongs to you. The role belongs to you, the character belongs to you, the applause belongs to you, and the hard work that you've done is yours to receive and celebrate.
And that's a reinvention of the way theatre is practiced. Of course, now it is like there's so many ways theatre is made in India and the world.
Yeah.
But in the the stage where great directors are, this is a reinvention. I think so, because it's not an actor who strays into your world. Not only learns a lot, but also learns a lot about himself or herself. and your vulnerability, which is there even when you just talk to anyone. Uh, they learn a lot about the world, you know, and how one can be, and the whole world is telling you to be in a certain way, and here they come to you and they learn to be in a special way. That's amazing.
Well, it's basically about removing artifice, moving all the layers of their being, and exploring their own inner spaces. It's like shining a torch. When I think of the word catharsis, which means fear and pity, but it's actually about shining a torch in those unknown spaces within the self.
Yeah, and young people don't get to be even in a
But let
space.
me tell you, it's not as simple as it sounds. There are also actors who resist. They don't want to peel those layers. They are quite happy with uh, saying their lines and
They told what to do.
and told what to do. They don't. They love a director who says, "Move from stage right to stage left. Pick up that object. Now stir your cup of tea. Now drink it." So it's a. I remember when I was asked by the Chandigarh administration, surprisingly, 5-6 years ago, to work with the young people of Chandigarh. It would be a Chandigarh administration's production. Um, so I said, okay, because very often city actors have been saying, "Hamare saath workshop karo, kaam karo." So I thought it's a good opportunity. So we got about 15, 18 actors, and they were being paid by the Chandigarh administration. And I was putting in some of my own money because they all think actors come free. So their budget was quite poor, but that time I was getting the government grant, so that became the buffer to the whole economics of this production. And I remember I told them to do something, and I said, "I'm just coming." I went inside and I came back, and they all saying, "Script to hai, script to hai. Kaise kaam karega?" So I've been through that also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to change ways.
But I think one big service that you did to all the people who have succeeded in working TV and as an actor in your productions, is that you took them through exercises in which they had to forget how, like, na, how maa karo kaise banna hai, and that stereotypical kind of a way which all actors fall into, and directors, or not all, most actors fall into it. Most directors are happy with their actors acting like that. And we've seen it repeated ad nauseum. So I was listening to the sharing of one girl who was telling us how you had, broken her idea about how to have a cup of tea. So probably she had to have a cup of tea, maybe, or maybe it was a theater exercise. And she's talking about, how you told her कि जिस तरह से पीते हो सोचते हो कि ऐसे पीते हो वैसे नहीं पीना. Have a cup of tea, but 10, 15 ways or whatever. I mean, what I remember of it, it's not verbatim. And that seems so amazing.
See, I think the death of any art is a stereotype. Is a cliche. So very often to break that, I tell them to do a love scene in a bathtub or do a dead scene under the table, under a dining table. Put them in unusual physical spaces so that the unfamiliarity of the physical space gives them fresh sensations to deal with.
So how would you define acting? Just came up in my head. Then,
But when you say acting mat karo, why are you acting? It seems very derogatory. It seems like आपको गाली दे रही हूँ. Let's stop acting, in social life or in everyday life. I mean, you can tell lies in life, but you can't tell lies on the stage.
And when you do, it doesn't really work.
It's like a microscope and a magnifying glass. You can make out fakeness in 1 second. And the audience, whether it's rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, they have that lens to know that it's कुछ झूठा है. So you have to get
buy कि ये तो झूठ ही होता है.
you have to get the truth of the character. That's why it is called a Leela, a Maya. It is an illusionary space. It's a delusionary space, but it is more real than life itself.
Wow, that's an amazing thought. Yes.
And you can smell it.
Yeah.
It's like Stanislavski also says, it's all about finding the truth. But how do you find truth? He said, just like when you're in love,
What is truth?
it's intangible. You know you're in love. When you feel God, you know you feel God. It's not something physical, manifest. It's just you know when it's not working. You have to develop the actor to that extent that he knows when it's not working.
Yeah, and he takes that seriously.
Yeah. And he takes that very, very seriously.
All the young people that have worked with you and older people, and Nakals, and so many different kind of people, this is what they took away from you. And they're all out there in the, space. And they're probably living that truth that means well.
You don't know, because once you're not in control and you don't wish to be in control. Everybody has to find their own language. They have to find their own language of work. Sometimes the way you will teach or I will teach or somebody else will teach, everyone brings their own special tools. It's like a toolbox. And the toolbox keeps on changing. It's not a static thing. It's a dynamic process. If you're stuck at one point, immediately after Hayavadana, I was asked by the Trishul Drama School to work with 4 of their repertory actors. They had very little money and they had no infrastructure and they had no budget and whatever. I said, I can't come to Trishul for a month. So these 4 actors came to Chandigarh. So suddenly after Hayavadana, which had ye bhi kar lo, wo bhi kar lo, truck bhi kar lo, singers bhi 14-15, there's a production controller. Suddenly there's me with these 4 actors who don't speak English, who don't speak Hindi, only speak Malayalam. And I was also told, you've done so much of Monto. And in Kerala, nobody's heard of Monto. So can you do a Monto with them? So I said, tell them to read it, choose their own stories. I never impose a text on young people. I said, let them choose their own stories and we will develop them. And these 4 actors come. I really feel, I hate to say this, I feel it's been one of the most powerful works that I've done.
This is that
with these Tamasha. With 4 actors.
Did we get to see it someday?
Well, I wish I'd known you were interested because we had 2 shows here. I just messaged my students, whoever wanted to come. So I didn't have lights or anything. And the actors, I thought to myself, when I took an audition, 15 actors applied for this project. Everyone looked like very kacha. So I thought, I'm so fond of Abhilash Pillai, who's heading the Trishul Drama School and trying so hard to bring in freshness, innovation, experimentation. So I just didn't want to say no to him. So I identified 4 actors through Zoom.
Wonderful happenstance.
Absolutely. And I said, I don't know what I'll do. They're so kacha, Abhilash. I said, no, ma'am. But for 1 week, I was saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't even understand the language they're speaking. I don't even know if the Monto's been translated properly. But I can't tell you what a magnificent experience it was. And the play is creating such waves all over South India. That is the funniest part.
But going back to the way you create a play with your students, with the actors, I will reiterate that it is rare. Although, huge film productions and Hollywood and people are doing improvisations before even a film starts, the shoot starts. But in here, this world of ours, this part of the world, children don't have any agency, even in school, when taught, at home, even in theatre. Because theatre directors want to blow up their image and the great theatre director. They think that this is the way it is done. तुमको ऐसे खड़े होना है, ऐसे खड़े होना है, वहां से जाना है, वहां से जाना है. And nobody wants to take the risk, even if they think that maybe that thing would be, better. They don't take the risk. And risk is very much a part of creation. So I would really love to congratulate you for that, because it's blowing my mind. That because I've seen some of your plays, and
if there's no risk, there's no creativity. You have to jump off the cliff.
People, what?
But you can only get people who are willing to take that risk.
But many will be, I think, after that space. And
I feel they're waiting for that challenge.
Yeah.
But they've got so calcified in what they imagine are directorial positions and what the actors are supposed to do. It's so hierarchical that they've also become fossilized in that. But suddenly, if you dissolve that space and say that you are the ones who are powerful, I'm not powerful at all, because you're the masters of the stage and they are the masters of the stage.
And there is a feminine energy in it. The masculine energy is okay, and the masculine energy is okay. If you're annoying, then you're going to bear the consequences, which I don't see your energy at all. That's not the way we get people to do. What is your vision? Or when you invite them into your vision, that is not the energy. And a lot of the theatre world, and the rest of the world, is so full of that energy.
I think a lot is changing.
A lot is changing.
It has changed. A lot of women, I think women directors are all this, they bring in that energy. It's not only me. It's people like Anuradha Kapoor, Namika Haksar, Maya, Kirti Jain, a lot of younger people also. They bring that energy. They bring that,
but it's not
collaborative spirit.
And I want you to just mention it.
I don't know.
So that people watch.
I've never seen a male director. Even male directors, when you see people like Abhilash Pinde, Deepan, Amitesh Grover. I'm not very familiar with names because I live in Chandigarh. But there are lots of younger people, younger directors.
Probably because the other thing is not working that much.
It becomes static if you don't collaborate with the actors. The actors are the ones who actually provide and feed and ignite the imagination of the director. And it's all a question of creating a space of trust and surrender. You create a place of trust and surrender, and you say to them, it doesn't matter. मेरे को एक idea आया मैम, पर थोड़ा सा stupid ना लगे. अरे क्या है यार? I want to see it. Do it. How can you decide if it's stupid? Even if it's stupid, so what? It's an idea. So let's explore.
Yeah. I'm just wanting you to, I wanted you to expand and talk on it, because one wants more of that. And for the people listening, it has to be spelled out.
Well, in the sense that even when I took Hayavadana, I said, okay, these are the two good friends. What would they do? One is a scholar, one is a bodybuilder. So where do you think they meet? So the scholar comes with a book and a pen, and the The other one comes with, push-ups or dumbbells or whatever. I said, just drop that. There must be other dimensions to the being. Then karte, through a process of trial and error, it takes a long time to construct and establish the first entity of the actors. And I take the time. There's no shortcuts there. Then we thought, let them drink. Now, it's a little blasphemous in a Girish Karnad play to have two actors who bring a bottle and they go on the seaside with their namkeen and sit and drink. One Brahmin, one wrestler, Krishna and Sudama kind of thing. And they both sit and drink. So I tried to think of situations which would be unexpected. As Bertolt Brecht says, to be surprised by the familiar.
And that's the learning point.
Otherwise, what's the point? If I'm going to do makhi pe makhi, itna Hayavadana ho chuka hai. Itne logon ne kiya hai.
Itne log kari jayenge.
It's a classic. It's a modern classic. So then in the end, I didn't want the sati thing. If you're familiar with the text. Yeah. In the end, she commits sati. And then she says, on whose pyre should I die? Sat janmo ka, all that stuff. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for me in 73. Didn't work for me in 2023. So then we did many things. What is the motivation that makes them leave home? What is we didn't kill any. I said, there's too much killing in the world. I'm not going to have any killing. So we tried many things. And then it's to tell the actor, what would you do if you wanted to show enough is enough? Enough is enough. Now it's time that I made my own path in life. This world of desire is getting very boring. Let's do something else. So what is the path? So we tried this and we tried that and we tried something else. And then you arrive at a point which you feel is silent, is quiet, is definitive. So it's a long journey. It doesn't come overnight.
And worth it.
And it's very simple to follow the text. It's very difficult to actually take the text in directions, what I call the invisible text. A text which is not there. Like, for example, when I did Little Eyolf for the Norwegian Ibsen Festival, then, because all these plays are set near the water. So we had a whole water channel which just got stuck into almost every play because we recycle our props. So you recycle. During rehearsals, you have to do it before you get in. If you are working with a scenographer, which we did in Hayavadana, then it goes somewhere else. But in Hayavadana, in Little Eyolf, then we said he lost his son to the river. So he's searching for his son in the river. But he wants to make the river like a field which is fertile, which becomes fertile. So I said, I can see him dropping something like seeds in the river. Like seeds in the river. Or maybe we can plant rice plantation. So these ideas were shared by the actor. Then the actor is very clever, Rocky. He took Nirma, and he put Nirma in the water. And then he whipped it up. So the whole foam was created. And then he picked it up and the foam became a babe that he had lost. So you give an idea to an actor, you go through a trial and error, you think of different things, and then sometimes the actor comes up with a magical moment. So it's sometimes I come with that moment, sometimes the actor comes up with that moment. So you don't know which is part of what I have done in the creative process and what has been done by the actors. So it becomes a collaboration in the true spirit of the word.
Facilitation.
Yeah, you give them the space. Yeah. करते हैं देखते हैं आज पूरा दिन यही करेंगे. rehearsal में.
Which brings me to what you said, that theatre is a visual art. That I remember the first time I stood in front of a great painting and blew my mind. And since then I had this feeling that visual art can actually transform you also. But in theatre, there are loads of things out there which are helping you transform. So, it's not
Well, theatre, the word theatre means to see more than to hear. In the Greek term of theatron, it means to see, not to hear. So because it is a visual art, then, and we live in a visual world, so we live in a world where there's sofas, table, plant. Why is it that we won't have a stark stage?
Yeah.
An empty stage. It's all very well for Peter Brook to say, empty stage, a man walks across and the other watches, and this is all that it means for an act of theatre to take place. But we are living in a physical world, manifested by physical things.
And with agency.
And I think that with agency, and I use it on objects. I want the object to be also a character in the play. It has the power of transformation. It has the power to become an extension of the narrative. Like for example, in Kitchen Katha, we used all food material. Pehle there's grain, then वो चक्की में पिसता है. नहीं, पहले तो वो साफ किया जाता है, through the sound. Then it is put in the chakki. Then it is pisod. Then it is powder. Then it is gunnod. Then it is rolled out. Then it is, the sound of the chapati being made. Then put on the tawa. So which means it's gone through a journey. So when I did Kitchen Katha, the timing of the scene had to be so precise with the timing of the cooking. So it was choreographed according to how much time it takes to cook that food, or to make that dough, or to make that bhaji, which was then served to the audience. If you have seen the play and recall. So there's precision, there's exactitude, there's order, there's discipline, there's timing.
And I heard geeks saying that when you took it to Japan, they were careful about taking this, diffusing the smell. And
They had two blowers in the wings, just sucking up all the smells.
Wow.
And then every practical decision you take, every aesthetic decision you take on the stage has to be a practical one. Each gas cylinder was put in a thali which had sand, and it had water next to it. So you had to make provisions. You can't be careless. You can't be irresponsible. I think the worst actor is one who gets so carried away by his or her role, and they hurt the other person, or they hurt themselves. I just get very upset when an actor does that. You must know your body. You must know exactly what you're doing, how to clutch it.
So, you're breaking a lot of myths that surround doing theatre. How theatre करते हैं, thank you. Although you take a creative risk, you take another risk, like actually having food being cooked on the stage, but you also have to see that things don't go, aflame. And but there is such a lot of, holy air, gas, you can say, around theatre, that I've seldom heard of people coming. Of course, great theatre directors, and you are also, but I don't think people really talk about all this. तुमने रोल किया, लोगों ने कहा क्या आवाज थी, क्या moods था, and but there's so many things that you can play with, and which you have been. You have allowed yourself, you have taken that step and played with visual, smells, with people, with work gone beyond your limits and your comfort zones, which is totally theatre.
Well, I don't see it. I don't describe it in these terms, but
But I have.
I'm very touched and honored that you should be saying all these things, because for me it's really my workspace.
Yeah.
And it's something I enjoy doing. I feel most alive when I'm in a rehearsal space. The rest of the day I feel very inarticulate and I feel very inadequate.
Yeah, I know. I heard you saying on one of your interviews that the rehearsal space, you can make the invisible visible.
Yeah.
And you can make the unarticulated definite. I don't know whether I'm.
Yeah. No, it's so.
That's an amazing thought. And actually, it does happen if you acknowledge it. And if you take that step, in fact, go beyond, go with your instinct, your intuition, to make the invisible visible, and not leave it half open.
Well, as T.S. Eliot says, for us, there is a trying, the rest is not our business. So you just try. Whatever follows, good or bad, is just part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Bali da kap pani dena, par mushkil pawe.
Yeah.
Da kam par lana pawe. What an amazing life you have. And it blows my mind. And it does. We kind of, कहते हैं ना, अपने आप को ढक लेते हैं, sort of bind ourselves, and very few people allow themselves to actually go and do what gives them joy and pleasure and fun. And we are all taught, especially women. I'm sorry, I'm bringing. I know you're not.
Yeah.
But we're taught to, okay, whatever you desire is not good. But here you are following your intuition, following your pleasure, following what gives you joy, and also creating that for others. And it's not a selfish thing.
I was just fortunate that I had a father who was very open-minded, didn't box us. He was a doctor, he came from a very deep spiritual background. Education came in the family with him. He was born and brought up in a gurdwara. My mother was educated, came from a political family. So it was a wonderful mixture of two kinds of worlds that I entered. Then I married a wonderful man who just never put any brakes on my imagination or expected me to fit into any typical role of just being a householder. I take that very seriously also. I have two sons and I take my role as a housekeeper and a householder equally precious to me. But I don't think we were boxed. He had no problems ushering for my show. He had no problem. He would design the brochures. Very often he would do the lights. So it was like a family enterprise. My children would enjoy backstage. They'd come in the crowd scenes when I used to do those slightly larger plays. So I didn't see anything unusual in it.
If you were anything is not usual. It might be a happy happenstance, or I think you should acknowledge that you have used your whatever gifts Kudrat has given you, or Kudrat has given you.
It's just been.
But you use them very well.
I don't know. That is something which I don't reflect on. I feel like if you do a good surgery, then the doctor doesn't carry that. I've done a good surgery. It's his job, it's his profession, it's his commitment, it's his dedication, it's his tenacity. In the same way, for play works, it's all of these things. But then I become invisible as a ghost. It's over, it's done with.
That is also loaded with.
And a play is born every day, dies at night. Why pat your back for something you did 10 years ago or 5 years ago? Because it's as ephemeral. Yeah, it's as ephemeral as life itself.
Yeah. But strongly recommend Neelam ji as a role model. Because for all the young people out there who don't know, because the world has gone so. I mean, it's a place of reality where never before has it been so bad. Or maybe, okay, sorry. Maybe it's not that as bad as it has been. But young people are looking for direction. And since they have much more choice now, they are looking more for direction than they did earlier, than we did when we were doing the top certainly. So I would recommend you as a role model, please. If you would let me allow me.
It's on my side, so you can recommend.
No, even as a young person, I'm sure you were highly recommended. And I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful that you're here in this world. It's everything is not physical, even people who don't know you. Your energy is out there, hiding to the good energy and reducing the bad energy.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so grateful for these very
Valuable and heartwarming words.
they're really they're more valuable and heartwarming to me than they could ever be to you. Because you'll be on to your next adventure. No.
Thank you.
And I'm really waiting to see what would be. And we must talk again.
Absolutely.
After you've gone a little bit more forward in your journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.